Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Today, we take a trip to the dark side of the moon and check out the limited edition 2011 Gibson Blood Moon Explorer. This is kind of one of the cooler limited edition Explorers out there because if you're a Les Paul guy, there's a whole bunch of different Les Pauls you can choose from that have, slightly quirky specs. But when it comes to Explorers, there's not quite that many. Like, there's the weird Explorer Pros with the shrunken body. You can find like the Explorer Custom. But as far as something that just, is outside of the ordinary, the Blood Moon Explorer is something that speaks to a lot of people. First thing you'll notice, the Gibson logo is blood red. This limited edition run was done in 2011. But you're also going to notice our inlays are special. These have little blood droplet inlays. Now, you could say that's kind of cheesy, and I would kind of agree with you, but it's something that I like about the Blood Moon Explorer. And then moving on, your entire body is actually not mahogany like it normally is. Or Carina, if you're talking about the vintage 50s Explorers. It's swamp ash on this one. So this whole finish is what they call their JuJu finish. They utilized this in the VooDoo Juju series, where they kind of gave it a satin finish that has a little bit of a red hue. I mean, you can check out this video where I reviewed the reissue of the VooDoo series, but check out this wood grain. That's what I personally love whenever Gibson uses swamp ash on something, is you get awesome wood grain, not only on the front, but also on the back. And the limited edition features don't end there for this particular one either. You get the cool blood red knobs right here. Get a Schaller Tremolo system. It kind of looks like a Floyd Rose, but it's not exactly one. But the other thing, you can't actually even tell just by looking at this. Like, normally people would think this would just be like the 496R 500T series pickups or something. But you'll notice on the back here, we actually have a battery pack. These were Gibson's own active electronics. I've kind of seen some conflicting sources as to what they called these things originally. It can kind of get a little bit hairy as to what was made up later and what was actual truth. Because I know somebody's going to say, how many of these things did they make? In this particular point in time for Gibson, they would generally make about 400 limited edition guitars when they would do runs like these. I have not seen an official number ever posted for this run, so it's probably 400 or less would be my best guess. As far as my first impressions on this thing, it's kind of a cool guitar. I like it. I can see why people appreciate these, especially if they're Explorer fans. This one looks like we need to condition the fretboard a little bit. We need to fix however these strings were put on. That low E is quite crazy. I mean, we got the locking nut. It doesn't really matter. As far as the weight goes, it feels like a regular Explorer. It's not like highly lightweight. I don't know, the neck feels a little bit heavy. All right, troglodytes, let's go ahead and throw this guy on the workbench and take an individual look at its parts and specs. Inside the Vampire Blood Moon Explorer. Okay, so I've gotten to the bottom of the pickups. They were indeed the gem pickups. Gibson later reused these pickups on their RD reissues. I think they might have been slightly different. This very well might have been the first time that Gibson ever used these things. So they're calling them an open coil active pickup. I mean, you can see it's just kind of two slug coils right here, so no adjustable pull pieces. And then back here, they've got this like printed circuit board type thing going on. And the wire comes out from there, goes on to somewhere in there, and then out the other side. So that'll be interesting. But those are labeled Gem Lead and Gem Rhythm. But take a look at this. That's kind of cool. So I believe this is actually considered a short neck tenon for Explorers because like the really long ones actually go all the way down here and it's hidden underneath the pickguard. But here you can see where the mahogany body comes in here. You've got the maple stripe that caps off the truss rod cavity. Then here is the swamp ash body being exposed by that little route. And that's also the case right here. Now you might be wondering, why do they need to do that? What's that for? Remember, these things have this giant thing sticking out the bottom. They need just a little bit extra room, so they would have had to custom program the CNC machine just to do a little bit more right there. I mean, you can see right there just how small of an amount that really is. But it's enough to expose the bare wood underneath. Looks like they even had to go slightly deeper for our pickup ring adjustment right here. So that's kind of cool. I think that's the first time we've ever seen inside of one of these things as far as the internet is concerned. I highly, highly doubt we're going to be able to get any readings because active pickups usually throw all this stuff off. Yeah, I'm not getting anything. If you turn it higher, that's when you get NAC 9.57 on the 200k ohm setting, 46.6, and about 90. So this, I remember when I first unboxed this guitar, I was like, did somebody replace my Floyd Rose? No, this is a Schaller double locking system. Very similar to a Floyd Rose. You put the bare end of the string right there, then you lock it down into place, take it up to the tuning pegs, make sure it's good there, and then you lock it down with your locking nut. And then, in theory, as long as everything's set up correctly, you can do all these wang-jangly dive bombs and whatnot, and it'll stay in tune. But that is made in Germany by Schaller. And while we've got it on the workbench here, we'll go ahead and take a look at the wood grain one more time. I love it when you get a lot of this going on. Each and every single one of these is going to be unique. Now, this thing was definitely played. Somebody had a little bit of a boo-boo right there. You can see some impressions. You can also see an area where the satin finish has turned glossy, and there are some picking scratches that you can occasionally see depending on your lighting situation. But there you can kind of see that red stain. It's a very dark finish. I think it'd be cool to see like a AMS or somebody reissue the Blood Moon Explorer but have the red dominant finish with the black grain fill. That'd be cool. So here's a good look at those knobs. Those look evil, don't they? And then, hey, look at this, a red switch tip. I was tempted to steal that from my bucket head that had this broken, but I think that might actually be slightly more red. I could be wrong. But in person, it's more of like a deep blood red instead of like the bright red that the bucket heads are. So I'm guessing those are actually different. And there is no pickguard stock on this model. So normally an Explorer would have the toggle switch up here. So I guess that's something that's also vastly different. You don't have the routes, the pickguard, and it's down here. And your control layout has kind of changed as well. So no longer 3 in a row. It's kind of going after that 80s Explorer vibe. It's kind of cool. Never noticed that until just now. But once again, this is a swamp ash body meeting onto a mahogany neck with confirmed rosewood fretboard. When I first unboxed this one, the fretboard was so dried out, I thought maybe it was baked maple or something. Nope, I was able to find a spec sheet that reads that this is rosewood. And a lot of these have nice streaky rosewood boards, so maybe they specially pick these, because I mean, I love that, especially on this guitar. You got a little bit right there, and it kind of came to life after I conditioned it. And another little streak up here. Now, as far as the inlays themselves, they're just acrylic plastic. Some of these look a little bit better than others. You get the double blood drop right here. As far as neck specs go, we get a 1.71 inch nut width, 12th fret 2.07, first fret neck depth 0.85, and wow, 0.88 by the 12th. Now, the one site that I could see that looked like they copied and pasted Gibson's old article, they called it a 50s neck. It doesn't feel like a 50s neck to me. I mean, it's got a rounded profile to it, but it still feels rather thin in my opinion. This is your locking nut system. You just got these guys over top of there. You just tighten them down and it locks the string. This is what your truss rod cavity looks like. Truss rod's good and functioning. I think it would have been cool if they would have put a little vampire guy on here, since it's the Vampire Blood Moon, kind of doubly named. And then we just get the black tuners right here. It looks like this tuner was installed crooked by the factory. It should be just a hair a little bit more down. And that is just a silkscreen red Gibson logo. That's something else that I think would have made this one much better, to have the pearloid plastic Gibson logo on that. Alright, we got it all back together. Now that looks a little bit better. I probably don't have the trem set up 100% perfectly, but that's just how it goes. But moving on to the back here, it's kind of interesting to see an Explorer have a trem cavity route. So this is what they use. Stock from the factory, you get 3 springs. It looks something like this. For those of you curious, no, a magnet does not stick to whatever trem system they're using here. And inside our back control plate, here's what's going on here. So it almost looks like they used an SG style route for this one, because you got that additional little pot left over there. You get the L style switch here, and then these do require a battery in order to do the whole active electronics. So I guess I'll have to put one of those in there. But as far as the rest of the electronics, they don't look like they're tiny little 25K pots like you'll find for active EMGs, so that kind of intrigues me how these utilize the full-size pots. You get your output jack on the side, and all your hardware on this is black chrome, including your screws. Here's what the back plate looks like for the trem cover too. And of course, you get all that beautiful ash wood grain back here as well, and it's a set neck. They don't have any like fancy sculpted heels. That would be really cool if they would do that. And then it's a satin finish neck on the back. You can tell this one's slightly turned glossy from play as they do, but you can feel that wood grain just a hair. And then back here, we get our serial number, dating this one to the 35th day of 2011 with these black mini Grover tuners. Yeah, you can really see just how crooked that tuner is. All said and done, this example weighs 7 pounds, 10.3 ounces. Let's go ahead, plug this thing in, and hear how it sounds. Okay, let's go ahead and grab some tones here. Starting with our cleans. Right away, strumming this thing, it definitely has that active, chimey, boisterous sound to it. I mean, listen to this. You hear what I'm talking about? It really likes to break and overdrive your amp with that. And we're still on the clean section, but that's our bridge pickup here. Switch over to the neck position. Doesn't quite get as sweet and juicy as most neck pickups that I'm used to. I mean, it's still very attacking yet. Let's try that combination middle position. It's still got a little bit of that funkiness, but it also has that overdriven, powered, active sound. So maybe not the best for my usual playing style, but when you try to do some more like metal-styled riffs, I think it sounds better for that stuff, that's for sure. So let's go ahead and flip over to some distortion now. all in all, it might not be the guitar for me. If this would have been just regular pickups, none of this Schaller Floyd Rose-esque system, I probably would have bought one of these things a long time ago. But I appreciate that this thing exists because it's another kind of a play off of the VooDoo Juju series, but yet it takes it to an extreme. So I can see why guys like these. It really just depends on what style of music you play. Now, as far as the Schaller Trem, you're probably curious about this thing. I didn't want to touch it because of, tuning stability. I'm not the best with setting these things up. It's not like a Floyd. Floyd's, you can kind of go down, you can go up. This one, you can go up a little bit, but it's not quite as extreme. I'll kind of demonstrate that here for you. That's about as far as you can go up. But I will say it's great for dive bombing. Look how loose these strings are. Doesn't really come back in tune, but that's maybe my fault. So Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at the Vampire Blood Moon Explorer with me today. Maybe not my guitar, but I can definitely see who this appeals to, and it probably does it really well. It's just not normally my style, but I love the way these things look, and I appreciate this limited edition Explorer. So check one out if this is more so your style. Otherwise, yep, you've seen one in person now. They're pretty cool. Thank you for tuning in today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.